It's your girl Shan, and I'm back with another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about healing. I feel like that's been a trending topic, not just as of recent, but in general, it is a trending topic. And it's a valuable trending topic because in this season, most socially, culturally, interpersonally, we do want to dedicate parts of ourselves to healing, right? Or maybe all of ourselves to healing, right? And I saw a post on Facebook and I pinned it on my Facebook and I said I was going to talk about this because we don't talk about this part of healing, which is the messy part. We can, of course, have the greatest intention to begin our healing journeys. At the same time, it's not as glorious as what maybe a person may have thought it would feel like or look like. So you may have heard the cliche saying that healing is not linear. That is so true. I always say, it may sound cliche, but there's truth in it. And I strongly believe it, right? Because like things become cliche when it's commonly used. At the same time, it's to unpeel it and to decide which parts of it is true to you or how it can apply to your life. So, healing being messy is a part of the journey. Healing is doing investigative work using an analogy. It's also looking in the mirror and looking at yourself in the most vulnerable space. And, it's saying, like, this part of me I'm not particularly fond of, or that I'd like to change. And it's processing that. I don't think people talk enough about like the processing part. Like when you look in that mirror and you're like, I don't really like that part. Like, can we do something about this? It's the guilt that comes with that. It's the shame that comes with that. It's the I wish I did things differently that comes with that. And sometimes it comes with judgment, right? And I'm speaking from experiences and I'm also speaking from the stories that has been brought to me. Um, and there is, by the way, there is no rubric or cheat code. That's my puppy pin. There is no rubric or cheat code on how to do healing, right? Just like how they say, like, there's no, and it's true, there is no manual for being a parent. You just kind of do it, right? You start. And sometimes you have to restart, right? Because you may slip up. And in those moments where you slip up, it's so important for you to give yourself grace. So I'm here to talk about all of what I just said. But I also want to like take a moment to let people know that if you are in a season right now where you are rewriting your story, keep writing. Even when you don't know where to go or how to do things or how to do things differently, keep writing. Sometimes when we talk about healing, we may get in a place, and I use we, by the way, for my new viewers. Like I use we because I believe in having this be a collective experience, a shared experience, right? And not singling anybody out because I feel like even though we may not have the exact same journeys, somehow we could link and relate to each other. So going back, right? So sometimes, we are in a position where like we want to stop writing our stories because we feel like we're supposed to be doing it a certain kind of way. Why is my friend's healing journey looking this way while mine is looking differently? And it's sometimes it is, or it can be seen as a positive thing, or it can be seen as a motivational thing, right? When we see our friends' lives maybe transforming in a way that you'd want it to look like in your life, and then it doesn't happen, and then you kind of like get in this space of like, well, I wish, but also like a position where you feel like I should be doing the exact same thing to get the exact same results, right? And we live in a world where like there's TikTok, right? We have people sharing their healing journey. But I want to like hone in on the journey part for a second. Um, Firstly, like when we do see like people on TikTok and they're sharing their stories with you, um, they're sharing their stories with you. I just want to hone in on that for a second. They can share, even myself, I can share and they can share, insight into their healing journey and what maybe like what it looks like for them. It doesn't mean it's going to be the exact same process for you. And those are the moments I want to encourage you to give yourself grace and realize that, like, to be honest, we all have different stories, right? We all have different paths to take. We have our individuality. And I think that sometimes we can get lost in losing that part, that individuality part, because we want to get to where someone else is. And though, like, it's beautiful to have that goal, we can't take away from, what your individuality looks like, what your unique experiences look like, what you look like, right? And the experiences that you've endured, and where your journey has taken you in this life from birth until now. You know, where have you heard your exact experiences occurring in someone else's life? You've never heard it, right? You can't say that like you and another person have gone through the exact same experience, not similar, the exact same thing. And I say that and I hone in on that because, like, that's why I'm encouraging to not compare. You can set the goal to be like, yeah, I wanna be able to get to this point like this person, but we don't want to become so consumed and consumed by comparison. We don't want to do that. We want to use the comparison as a goal, right? If we're gonna like be inspired by other people or admire other people, we just don't want to become consumed by it. We want to become consumed by our individuality, right? During their healing process. And it's a process. It's a journey. And what is a journey? It's a thing that is ongoing. What is a process? It's a thing that is ongoing. I remember someone asked me like, when do I stop healing? And I'm chuckling because sometimes we want to stop, right? By the way, because this is real. This is like a real life question that was asked to me. And sometimes, and I think that this is something that can be applicable to maybe some of the viewers here, right? Like, when do you stop healing? And I wish I could have, and I told this to the person. I was like, I wish I could tell you when. I know, because, when she asked the question, it was coming from a place of exhaustion. And I look at it through the lens of like, yes, it can be exhausting, right? Like doing that inward work and feeling the guilt and the shame and like embarrassment, maybe even humiliation and the memories that come flooding in because of experiences that you once went through. But also like you get into a space of like, I can't believe I did this. So disgusting, right? Like I would never do that now, right? And so we get into this ridicule phase of like, I can't believe this, right? And then that's where the shame comes in, right? And sometimes, when you start to do the work that links to that, like those memories or maybe past experiences where you were included in those experiences where you maybe made mistakes, thinking about it and then working on that can create exhaustion. Let's use generally toxic patterns, right? We all have like toxic patterns that we know that if we engage in said pattern, we know where it's going to lead us, right? But yet here you are saying, I acknowledge this toxic pattern. Here is healing over here. And now we have to like get from toxic pattern, go through healing to now engage in healthy patterns. There's a lot of things to do here, right? You have to go through a process. Now, the exhaustion comes when like maybe there is a push and pull. That's another thing that people don't talk about either. There's a push and pull in between healing, right? So toxic over here, healthy over here, and you're like, how do I completely get over here? I just want to like get rid of this, right? But it doesn't happen that way. So the exhaustion comes, going back to exhaustion. The exhaustion comes when like you have to now look at this toxic pattern and you examine it. You feel what you need to feel because of said toxic pattern. Then the memories start rushing in, right? Because more than likely, the toxic patterns are associated with memories and experiences that maybe you were in, right? And maybe you put yourself in, right? Because we can't ignore accountability in healing, because accountability is actually necessary in healing, right? So now we're in this toxic pattern where all of the things are coming in, the memories, experiences, the feelings. And you're looking at this and you're like, huh, healing. I want that. I want to be able to engage in healthy patterns. But before we get there, we have to do some work. See, the exhaustion comes here. Now we're moving in the healing process. It's saying, I am not going to do said thing to repeat said pattern, right? And now you get here to the healing stage. While you're here, though, right? The push and pull, the push and pull, right? So now you're in this healing stage. The toxic pattern, let's give it some personality. The toxic patterns are saying, I know you want to get over here, but like this feels good. This feels good, and you know what this feels like. This is normal, you know. Let's go back to over here. Let's move back. Let's move back, right? Going backwards, right? And your healthy patterns are saying, come over here. Come, let's do it. Let's do it. And maybe your body, right, is saying like, no, well, then again, like I know what to do in this situation, right? I know what this is gonna be like if and should I engage in this, so I'm just gonna engage in it anyway, right? And so sometimes that leads to what, relapse in healing, right? I'm gonna use relapse in this scenario, and you're like, I have to restart again. And so sometimes that leads to exhaustion, because it's like you're in a fighting space, right? Of like relapse, recovery. And it's not just like relapse and recovery. There are things in between that's happening. People who can influence you to either go here or there, right? And like it's really thinking about your people too, right? Who's your people? Who is your people for real? Right? Because your people for real are going to support you as you're navigating over here and not push you or pull you back to the toxic pattern, the toxic cycles that you're trying to get out of, right? Now, a part of this gray area too is the discipline. That is really the area that I feel like, we haven't delved into when it comes to talking about healing, right? Because it's 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 beautiful to begin your healing journey. It's another thing to remain consistent. And it's considering all of the things that are over here, the toxic stuff, and saying, no, I'm not going to engage in said toxic things, toxic patterns, toxic people, because I know where that's going to get me, right? But it doesn't mean that you may not feel tempted. So we can't ignore temptation either, right? That spiritual part, or the emotional part, right? So it's like, it's that again, that battle, that push and pull, that push and pull. Self-discipline comes in your healing journey, because it's one thing to say in theory, I want to begin healing. And then you start it, and then you start to feel all of these things, the guilt, the shame, the disappointment. And then, then that can easily, those feelings too, can then easily maybe encourage you in some ways to pull you back some. And so self-discipline says, we need to do this differently this time. We owe ourselves that. We deserve to continue this journey of healing. And we need our village, because temptation will call, normalization, familiarity, comfort, right? And that's the part, like, I feel like people need to talk about more, is how powerful comfort is. But I think that, you are more powerful. Comfort is powerful, temptation is powerful, but you are as well. You are most powerful. And it's recognizing your worth. In all of this, it's recognizing your worth and your value and knowing that you deserve more. So, you know, going back to why I'm even recording this, right? Healing can become messy. I know that, it's a trending topic. People are talking about it on TikTok, social media, all the social spaces. It's easier said than done, though, right? It is a beautiful goal. It's a beautiful goal. At the same time, you don't just go from like engaging in toxic behaviors and immediately you get to engaging in healthy behaviors, because I will tell you that takes discipline, and I will take a significant amount of discipline and determination. Going from engaging in behaviors that you know are not well for you, or doesn't allow you to get to where you like to be, to then getting there and being consistent with it, that takes a whole lot of discipline. And that's another thing too. Like, remember I was talking about like individuality? So We all know what it is that it takes. We know what it takes for us to get to where we want to be, whether it's spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. We know whether it's like an actual visual, like it's clear, or we get a sense of it. I really do believe that. Sometimes it takes another person to see the light in us and say, like, listen, this is where I feel like you should be. You have the potential, right? You do have the potential. You have the gifts, right? We need that encouragement. At the same time, I feel like innately, spiritually, and it could just be my spiritual self talking, spiritual girly, by the way. Like when it comes to like knowing that we should not be engaging in things, we know, right? We know like I deserve better, right? I deserve better. Sometimes we're just stuck, right? And we're stuck for many reasons. Um, but I say that to say, right, like we know, right? That's the individuality aspect. We know that there are things that we just should not be engaging in, um, even when it's comfortable, right? We know innately, we know that this thing is not within alignment. This doesn't feel good. I remember I was saying like we're stuck in places for many reasons, and sometimes it's hard for us to be able to identify what it is and what's keeping us, right? Um, that's the individuality aspect because what one reason might be for one person may not be for the other person, and also like it's recognizing that like sometimes in healing you do get stuck. Sometimes we do get stuck in healing, and honesty is very important in healing, right? Especially when like maybe there are times where you want to be pulled back or you're pulled back and you want to move forward, or maybe you're stuck and you want to move forward. Honesty is so important, and honesty comes with accountability. Being able to hold yourself accountable even if it's uncomfortable to feel, right? Because accountability is uncomfortable to feel. So now going back to being stuck is a part of the journey, and sometimes we need that extra oomph. you know and sometimes it's two things. You can receive the umph and then you embrace it and then you move with it, or you receive the umph and you take it in but you're not ready to make a move yet, right? Because it's a two-way street, right? So your person can come, or a person can come and like encourage you to move forward towards healing, right? It's also up to you to decide that you're ready for that, right? Because readiness is a whole different thing too. This is a part. Listen, this is the gray area I'm talking about. As I'm talking, the gray areas are just filling up right now. Right now we're here, but we're talking about things that are linked to healing being messy at times, right? Or confusing, right? Or not clear, right? To be honest, I don't. You know what? I don't think it is designed to be clear. I don't think it is. I don't think it's designed to be clear, because it is a process to go through, and it's eventually gaining clarity. But while you're going through it, and as you are going through it, it's really for learning purposes, right? And so they aren't clear direction. There isn't a clear direction. There isn't a clear map and how to do it. You just kind of like do it, and you learn it on the way, and you write it down, whether it's physically or mentally. You just keep going, right? And you're taking all that you're absorbing and saying, hey, this is what I'm going to take from this. And then you're over here, and now we're going to execute discipline. So going back to readiness, right? Healing is something that you have to be ready for, right? And no one can be ready for you. You have to be ready for you. And you have to decide, like, I'm going to do this, right? And you have to emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically prepare yourself to do something, and really decide to show up for yourself in that way where you are ready. Healing deserves your all. It deserves your all. And it doesn't mean that at times you may not give your all, because there may be times where like, it's exhausting, right? And you just need a break. And the question is, it's thinking about why you need a break, right? Where is that feeling coming from, right? This is hard work. Yes, it's messy. It's also hard and rewarding work, right? So can we just like add more descriptions to healing, right? Because it can really be so many things, right? And not just one. So going back to why I'm recording this today, you deserve to witness and experience the best, the best. You deserve to be able to see yourself on this side of the fence, right? The healing side, and seeing what that looks like to experience it. It can be scary. It can be scary. I say take your fear with you, right? And to pinpoint people in your life who can hold you accountable. Identifying your accountability partner. who's going to be like, we're not going back here. We're moving here. You deserve to feel healing. You deserve to taste it, witness, experience it, go through all the emotions that come with it, the gray areas, right? The discipline, the temptation, the emotions that are going to come, right? I'm not going to say that like, you won't feel guilt, you won't feel disappointment, you won't feel shame. You may or may not feel those things. But what I will say is that those feelings that maybe feel dark to you and feels uncomfortable, embrace those, right? Explore those, right? Where is this coming from? And listen to them, right? Explore, write it down. Like, sometimes you need a pen to paper kind of experience to kind of like see it, right? If it's helpful, create a pros and cons list, right? The pros of engaging in healthier behaviors, the cons of engaging in toxic behaviors, right? And just kind of looking at that list to examine it a little bit more. Which one is longer than the other one, right? And so, I wish I could like have this video be like, this is how you do healing, but it doesn't work like that. I'm on my healing journey as well. It's an ongoing process, right? I've come a long way in my journey in different aspects because this is another thing too, because healing can be broken up into subsections, right? Like it can. It's like, yes, the umbrella is healing, and then underneath is like healing my spiritual self, healing behaviors, healing maybe toxic patterns linked to relationships, healing parts of me that was aggressive. So it's really, I feel this way, right? And it's to eliminate that pressure of like and also like for you to like have like more a zoom in focus on different areas that can that may benefit from healing, right? And changing so that you can feel like you are reaching a goal that would be necessary for growth. I remember that with growth there is discomfort. I wish there was another way, because we don't want to feel the discomfort. No way. We want to like skip that and like get to comfort, right? At the same time, sometimes we need to go through discomfort to appreciate the comfort. And so we have to get there, right? Through the discomfort. And it's necessary, right? Um, and just know that it's worth it. At the ending of the day, it's worth it. Healing is worth it. It's a journey. There is no cap on when to stop healing. There isn't a manual. I'm here to just say, just take away the manual, the pressure that comes from like thinking there is a manual, or the pressure that comes from comparison and social comparisons. Like, just embrace who you are and where you are, and get ready for where you're headed, and consider that you're deserving of healing. If there's nothing else that you take from this video today, just know that you're deserving of healing, and that this is an individual journey. There are things that we share with people, and there's some things that we haven't shared and that we keep to ourselves. And so like, it's thinking about that, right? Not everyone knows everything about us, right? And so that's why I say it takes more inner work. It takes that individual work. Individuality is important. Consistency is important. Who is in our village is important. Readiness is important. Discipline is important. Discomfort is important. And just trusting your decisions and yourself is important. It's you with you, right? Creating that relationship with ourselves, but also like recognizing, yet at the same time, yes, there are things that you want to change about yourself, yet it's also recognizing that this is the body that you're going to be with for the rest of your life, right? I mean, considering that they're like technological advances, which could, essentially cause maybe us to have more than one body. But essentially what I'm saying is, right, it's recognizing that this is the body that you're going to have, right? Prior to technological advancements, this is the body that you're going to be with, that you're going to have, that you have to take care of for the rest of your life. Everything, your mental and your body. It's looking at your overall well-being and knowing that this is the well-being that you have to take care of, and you have to trust your intuition, trust your instincts, trust your gut, and know that, like, a couple of things can happen while you're on this healing journey. People may question, like, your decisions, right? Question how you're changing when you know in your heart this is the best for you, and they may look at it like, well, you're switching up on me, when really you're not. You're doing what's best for you and what it is that you deserve. And so, it's ensuring that you remember that you're making these decisions for you and not for them, and not for anyone else but for you, right? And it's knowing that should you relapse, right? That you can always rewrite and rewrite again. I feel like even when we have to rewrite a story because we've slipped up or we relapse, sometimes that's still an opportunity for us to learn, right? What triggered me to relapse, right? Asking those questions, those fundamental questions. Why am I relapsing? What do I need to change about said area that is causing me to constantly relapse, right? Um, and so it's using every experience on your healing journey to paint a bigger picture, to bring a bigger outcome, but also for you to learn more about yourself, right? That's the thing about healing too that I love is that you are able to learn more about yourself along the way, whether you are in relapse or while you're in recovery, right? Because you can be in recovery and still be triggered. You can be doing everything in a consistent way while you're recovering and while you're in healing and you're engaging in healthy habits. You can relapse, or you may be exposed to things that would bring up a lot for you or trigger you in a way that it may allow you to relapse. And it's to forgive yourself throughout. Forgive yourself. I know that it's easier said than done, and that's why you need people to like reassure you along the way, like, I messed up. Yeah, they're going to say to you, like, you're human, right? Eliminating this idea of perfection or things having to be perfect during your healing journey, because it doesn't have to be. It's just a journey, right? It's like life. And I think about it like this, like, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and we don't know what the day is going to look like. We just kind of like do it, you know, and we embrace the things that come with it. I will say that, moments where you feel like you're triggered and you relapse, it's recognizing that it's just one aspect that maybe you are relapsed in, and that doesn't define the other progress that you've made, or that doesn't define the progress you've made in that said area too, because you made progress. You relapse. I bet you won't be able to not say that you didn't gain lessons though. That every experience didn't teach you something. Our experiences teach us, and I sound like a broken record because I say that all the time. People who know me, who's tapping into this, like, I say that all the time. Our experiences, they teach us, like the good ones and the bad ones. And sometimes we have to just keep navigating and having faith that you get to where you need to be in no time, and that there's no rush. Shouldn't be any rush or time stamp. Healing is a journey. We're all healing from something. How I know? Because we're human and we've made mistakes as human beings. And so, don't let people come in and they're like, oh, well, you're acting brand new. And sometimes you have to like embrace like what people be saying when you're doing things that are positive for yourself. I am acting brand new. And this is why I'm acting brand new. You don't even have to provide an explanation. But essentially, the goal of healing is to offer newness, to be exposed to newness, right? And so it's how you look at it, how you perceive it, and how you embrace it. But people are gonna come, people in your life that maybe you've known for years may not be welcome on this journey with you. And you may recognize that in yourself, and that may come with grief as well. You may not be ready for that, and then it happens, and you're like, what do I do? I say, go through what you need to and navigate accordingly and give yourself grace and time to process what you need, right? Because that's another part of healing too, is the grief, I feel like those two uh, are friends in a way, because the messy part that social media talks about, and that we talk about in general, is the grief, right? The discomfort, the things that the thoughts that come where like, I can't believe this, right? You question the past, all the things that happened in the past, and you think about it, right? And you're like, wow, I have to now step into this newness, this new part of me. And in order for a person to continuously be on their journey, I feel like their healing journey, I feel like you have to simultaneously go through grief at the same time and recognize that you're not there anymore. You're here, and you were once there, and that may have been part of your life for a long time. The behavior for a long time, for example, right? The behavior for a long time has been a part of your life, and you just don't want that anymore. And even though in your mind, like you're gonna be making the best choices, the grief comes and says like, wow, okay, you're leaving me. I'm going to be in the past now. And that is something that eventually you'd have to accept, right? And yet it's no rush to accept either. Still, I feel like they work together, grief and healing, right? It's working through those feelings of the past self, right? The past behaviors. And I don't like to say past self too much either, because I feel like all of our experiences just make us who we are. And it's isolating self and saying behavior, because it is behaviors. But I know that we use self so much, like past self and future self, is a trending um phrase. I personally prefer to use isolate or separate the self from the behavior, and saying is the behavior, right? The pattern, right? And it's saying like I have to now implement things that are new in my life, and this feels weird, right? The discomfort that comes with that too, the change. So all in all, I just want to say again, you deserve healing. You deserve the best parts of you, to see that, to experience it, to feel that, right? Even if no one is celebrating, that you celebrate anyway, because you know you, and you know the journey that you've been on, and you know that you deserve to be here, and to be in your healing. Sometimes we're stuck in situations, and we think that there's nothing else and I say to that, in the relationship, that there is a reason why you're stuck, right? It's really exploring like how long you'd like to be stuck there, and what does it feel like to be stuck. And it's reaching out to your village and or a professional who can support you in feeling unstuck, and gathering the tools that you need to move forward. It's recognizing that sometimes we have to do that exploration, that self exploration, that self reflection, that would help us in our healing journeys, and asking ourselves the questions like, why am I allowing myself to be here? Accountability, right? Why am I allowing myself to be here for so long, right? Do I deserve this? And I love the question, do I deserve this? And not just asking the question, but like taking the action after the question, right? And if the answer is yes, then you know what to do. And the answer is no, you know what to do. And if you have difficulty after you say that, no, I don't deserve this, is reaching out, right? Reaching out. So thank you for tuning in. As always, don't forget to follow Bloom Speaking of Sunflower blog on Instagram and Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Tell a friend, and tell a friend, share clips of this video that you love and that really resonated with you. And also, if you are looking for a mental health educator, mental health coach, I'm here. It's a tailored experience. I create presentations according to what it is that you are in search of receiving education on. And so definitely reach out to me. I'm happy to share. I love to talk. Let's do this together. Anyway, take care. Mwah. I love you.